Hey, it's me, your boyfriend slash girlfriend slash day friend's favorite content creator. And um, hey, are we okay? Like, seriously, are we okay? I posted TikTok not too long ago talking about what's going on and like people talking about how games are bad, all that stuff too. I'll just play it for you. Here's the video.
Every time you hear gamers talking about how we just want good games, I just want good games, you can almost always tell they only play like one type of game. Like, they'll try to convince you that in 2024, all the games have been bad. Every game's been bad. No good games have come out in 2024. We just want good games. We missed the old years of 2007 or 2012, and it's like, you are getting good games. You've been continuously getting good games. In fact, you're getting such good games that the average game is probably like a 7.5 or an 8. And you guys think that's mid. You think it's bad. Not because you personally think it's bad, but because you've been told by a bunch of grifters and YouTubers and streamers that this is actually a piece of shit game. And in fact, the only time these guys play those games is to either shit on it for content or just to be like, you know what? Games nowadays just suck in general. It's like they're never happy. And you know it's true, because you'll see streamers who have never touched the game getting sponsorships to play like Yakuza and saying Yakuza sucks. They've never played a Yakuza game. They're playing Dragon Age. They have not played Dragon Age game. They're playing like Spider-Man. They don't like comic book games. Like, it's people who do not like the genre are just saying, this shit sucks, it's dumb, it's bad. It's like, you don't even play those games. But also, you have other options. And you can also tell they're being disingenuous because they'll focus on the games that didn't do too well, which by this point, you know the routine. It's Concord, it's Dustborn, it's Star Wars Outlaw. Even though Star Wars Outlaw sold like over a million, it's like, but it's a bad game because there's a woman in it. But we're gonna lie and say it's because of mechanics. But really, we're just mad because there's a woman who we don't find hot as the lead. Like, that's the real problem. You guys are letting these losers with no ability to be critical of anything, without able to take the context of anything and allowing them to be these like voices of the gaming community. Like, hey, actually, we should listen to the 56-year-old breast milk thief because he knows what he's talking about. He hasn't played out a fucking game in 8 years. But sure, he knows the current market and what's happening in these studios. They're definitely talking to him. Oh, I can't formulate my own opinions. Why don't I listen to a millionaire streamer who lives in fucking abject squalor and see what he thinks about a game that has a woman or a minority as a lead? Let's see what his opinions are. Like, what?
Okay, so my understanding of my video was that I was addressing the point that people are making, which is games aren't good anymore. They want games to be good again. We've seen a ton of those kinds of videos on the internet, right? All over YouTube, some on TikTok, some on Twitter. We've seen those. Like, I didn't just make that up. And so I made that video thinking, hey, that's the premise, and here's why I think it's a bad premise. And then I go and I actually show, right? Like, here's all the Metacritic scores, here's all the Game of the Year nominees, right? We've had a lot of good games to the point where, like, the games that get left off of Game of the Year categories are probably games that would make it like in a previous year. Like, we've been getting a lot of good games, regardless of my feelings of how the industry has been going in terms of closures and how they're treating employees and AI. The actual end result products have been better overall. And I know people are going to hear that and go like, that's insane, it's insane. But it's like, look with your eyes. Like, yes, we have been inundated with just great games. Yet here's the response I've been getting to that video. And now I'm not going to sit here and say that I am some masterful orator who never makes mistakes, who just succinct and gets to the point. I say a lot of filler words a lot. I go, my brain goes faster than my mouth sometimes. Like, I have that problem, but I'm trying to actively work on it. But I thought this video was very cut and dry. Like, hey, people are saying games are bad. I don't agree. I don't know how we got to this point. I made another video talking about RPGs, and that one might have been a little bit more esoteric compared to at least that TikTok, but I still surmised it by saying that at the end of the day, like, hey, defining a genre is kind of hard, and maybe it's more just like a vibes thing, because defining an RPG, when you go by the definitions you can find online, don't really cover all the RPGs we play, right? Like, a lot of the responses I've seen from that video with people going like, well, you said you looked hard. You didn't look hard enough. You were just word salad. And then they gave me a definition that I already used. And then I respond to them going, hey, watch the video. Like, I addressed that, right? By like your definition, if you're saying that RPGs are where you play a role and we control either one or two characters and that's a character arc, I'm like, okay, so then Red Dead Redemption, right, is an RPG if we go by those standards. The Witcher, you play as Geralt, like, so that's not true, right? But I was trying to go like, hey, it's kind of hard to just define a genre, especially nowadays. And like, again, those comments, and they got me thinking, like, the discourse that we have in the gaming sphere is bad, like very bad. And I believe it's very bad because, and I'm going to say this as bluntly as possible, so there's no confusion here or misconstruing. It's bad because gamers are dumb. Like, we've gotten progressively dumber, and I do blame the massive amount of brain rot that's been happening lately. Because what do you mean me saying people saying that games are bad is actually not true is somehow me complaining and saying that I'm disappointed in the amount of games that have come out this year? Like, that the leaps in logic don't exist because there's no logic to leap from. It is quite simply making up your own argument and then being mad. It is a straw manning of someone's argument. And I'm only using myself as a personal example to show you guys like, hey, this is actually happening. But it's not just happening to me. Have you ever been on Twitter lately and noticed anytime game developers interact with capital G gamers, the interactions are terrible, like just abysmal. Most recently, what happened with I believe it was the art director, creative director for Avowed, and people are just losing their shit. What happened with one of the developers for CD Projekt Red, people losing their shit. And I'm like, how are we not able to just interact? Like, we have gotten so fucking repulsive to the point where the people who make the products you consume don't want to engage with you. And instead of taking a moment and being like, hey, maybe I should be working on fixing that, it's now become, well, let's go to their boss and try to get them fired, or let's do a day-long Twitter rant about how it's unfair and you're a paying customer and yada yada yada. What happened to gamers, dude? What happened to being able to like dish it and take it, right? Like, how many times have you heard them say, you wouldn't have survived the Call of Duty lobbies? I survived those lobbies. I don't think you guys play Call of Duty, like, from what I'm saying on the internet. How are we getting so mad at these game developers for everything all the time? And then you shit on them constantly. You harass them constantly. You call their games woke garbage years before they come out because you saw a ethnicity or a ideology you don't agree with. When did you guys become such sensitive babies? Like, what's going on? You'll try to call me a cuck because I'm like, hey, saying, hey, isn't it weird that you guys are like just going after these specific games that are obviously slanted more towards like minorities in terms of like representation? And then it's like, oh, well, you're just a cuck. You're just this, you're that. And then you see like Elon Musk saying he wants to use his large corporation to make AI video games because other large corporations just aren't doing it because they're too weird or whatever. And now you're like, that's a good idea. Like, what? Since when do gamers love fucking large corporations? Like, where did we go wrong here? Like, what's happening? How did we end up at this location? I know I've done a video on like how we've gotten to a certain level of discourse in terms of the rhetoric, but I'm talking about like from a logic level, how did we get to this point where a artist, a director can say something that's clearly meant to be a little tongue-in-cheek joke, and now it's like the biggest offense ever, yet you're the same people who will look at Dragon Age, because you guys love fucking talking about that game, the Veilguard and then make jokes about hanging a character. It's just dark humor, bro. But if someone says they want to hire more black artists because they are tired of working with crusty white dudes, and they themselves are a white dude, suddenly it's, oh, who's owned this company? I'm gonna go to their boss. That was Elon Musk, by the way. That was him doing that. Like, didn't we make fun of that? Wasn't that something that was like, you gotta have thicker skin, you gotta be able to take it? You guys again make jokes at the expense of minorities and at the expense of people's identities, like very existence. But someone says crusty white guy and you're fucking losing your shit. Like that's baby shit. Like, you're a baby. I don't think you should be playing video games. And not only do you guys act like babies, you can't even critically engage with the content you are consuming. Like, it's too much effort to play a game and understand thematic elements. Well, the game's woke. No, walk it all the way through. Articulate your point. What do you mean it's woke? We both know you can't define wokeness. And we both know what you mean is there are groups of people who I personally rather not be in this game. But you're too afraid to say that. So you'll hide behind all of these layers, knowing full well it makes zero sense. And I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. I know you have seen those videos where they're just like, games gone woke, and it's like they are allowing people to choose their gender identity. There's a pronoun. Oh my God, the game is too woke for me to play. Fucking words. You guys have played Postal. You guys have played Grand Theft Auto, except for Elon Musk, because once again, couldn't shoot cops. Oh, it was too much for him. But you've played games that allow you to blow people's brains off. You've played games that allow you to just like murder people. You have games with sex scenes. You've had games that had political things before. You guys played Metal Gear Solid. You played Mass Effect 2, 3, 1, probably Andromeda. Like, you've played all these games, but now it's a problem. Now you can't do it. Now it's too difficult. Like, do you understand how strange it is for gamers to constantly lament how everyone misunderstands them and they're just wokies and normies and they don't get it? And then people see what you're complaining about and are just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Do you guys remember the Save Stellar Blade petition? Do you remember those videos?
I'm sick and tired of censorship in the greatest country that's ever existed, the United States of America. And I'm also sick and tired of the culture hating gamers and treating all video gamers like they're worthless, straight white male incels living in their mom's basement. But then they get mad when lesbians can't get their big tittied women in video games, or they're mad that the agenda doesn't line up. Support this petition. Free Stellar Blade.
That is exactly how people have been looking at gamers for years. And we did so much PR to fix that. And now we're back to square one. Because you're making a petition about a digital character because you think they are not showing enough titty. That's it. They want to hide behind, no, it's censorship. The game was not censored. It's not censored, right? Just because a company alters a design of their own choosing, that doesn't make it censored. And again, have you guys not been with a woman before? I'm being so serious. My God. Go play other games. I have a whole video about Gooner games you guys can play. Go play that. But you guys want like all of this all the time. Like, it's just a crazy level of entitlement. To like an insane degree of entitlement. And then whenever you're called out on it by someone like me or a game developer or a journalist or whatever, you guys shit your pants and you cry all the time. Like, this video is me being explicitly mean about this because maybe you'll finally start to fucking listen to someone. This shit you're doing is weird. It is weird shit. These are video games. You guys are making petitions because you can't see a titty. Like, really think that through. Don't hide behind the bullshit of, oh, we're just fighting against wokeness, our DEI, our CRT, because we both know you don't know what that means, because once again, you guys don't engage in anything critically. You hate engaging in things critically to the point where there's a woke content detector list to tell you just what not to play because there's an improbable amount of female combatants in there. Like, do you understand how fucking weird that is? You don't want to play a video game because there's too many, female NPCs that are doing shit? Going more on that list, because me and my friends were going over it yesterday on shit I missed, they were saying that Final Fantasy 15 is not recommended for wokeness because in Lestalem, the women are working in factories and the men are raising the children, and they didn't explain why. That's fucking insane. That is insane that you would need that spelt out for you specifically, and that would detract from a game about going on a boys trip to get all the royal weapons so you can like stop a war or whatever. The story's kind of all over the place because it's been gutted and put in like different media, but no bearing on the overall game. But this one detail, you guys don't throw a bitch fit about. Space Marine 2, the game you guys said was great because one of the producers or whatever was on the Asmongold comment section, but then you also said it's too woke because there's a fucking woman who's in charge of like the army, and then there's a transgender person just working on the game. Now it's too woke. A game where you play as an ultra fucking jacked Space Marine who can like rip the spines out of people in a bloody mess with a fucking chainsword, and you're saying no, can't play it because there's a woman in a certain part of the game that's in a position of power. It's weirdo shit. Not once are the complaints or critiques actually related to the game itself, like from a gameplay perspective or performance perspective or acting or anything like that. And if they are, they're far and few between. It is overwhelmingly just the most nitpickiest of shit where it's just like you are very obviously uncomfortable in your own skin and you hate the fact that other people aren't. Because who plays video games and just stops because there's a woman who's in charge of an army? There's women in factories. There's an optional side quest where you find out someone's actually gay. That's on the list because of fucking Ghost of Tsushima. The game you guys were just saying was the best game ever, was so cool because Jin Sakai is amazing, and you're mad because now I'm Ghost of Yote, it's a woman. That game. Like, it is insanity that we are still doing this. And obviously, there are a ton of fucking grifters. I've talked about this ad nauseum. I don't want to talk about that anymore. But a ton of grifters who are exacerbating the problem. But you, the viewer, you, the gamer, are also part of the problem. How are you telling me you grew up playing these games, that these games actually belong to you and not people who look like me or women or trans people or gay people or whatever? They belong to you. These are your games when you can't even handle the games you claim to play. You can't handle Space Marine 2. You can't handle Grand Theft Auto. You can't handle Halo. You can't handle Call of Duty. You can't handle any of those stereotypical white dude, straight bro games. You can't handle it. And it's like, then why are you playing games? Like, what are you doing, ultimately? What are you doing? Because I don't think you're okay. I think anyone who lives a life so fearful of other people is not doing okay. When you can't even play a video game or watch a movie because, they're just forcing it down our throats, you have a problem, like a legitimate problem, and you need help. And I don't think video games are for you. And also, forced diversity is fucking stupid because every game is made. Everything's forced, unless they're bugs. Unless it's Bethesda. But everything's forced then. Everything's forced. Why are you focusing on the fact that there's a black person there? Why are you so mad there's a woman in charge? Why? Oh, well, I want to play a power fantasy. Not every game's a power fantasy. It's just not. Just not how it goes. I saw a post earlier, some guy talking about that exact point, saying that, well, we play video games to escape. Escape from what? What are you escaping from? Just to say escapism is crazy. Like, escapism from what? Your day to day? Okay, then why are games like Train Simulator, Power Wash Simulator, Microsoft Flight Simulator, The Sims, why are those games so popular? NBA 2K, NFL, why are those so popular? What are you escaping from? NFL's real. The NBA is real. And if you want to go like, oh, well, you wish you were a professional athlete, but you're not, so that's your escapism, your fantasy. Okay, cool. Why can't someone else's escapism be like, I want to go to a world where transgender people aren't prosecuted, aren't ridiculed, aren't threatened. I want to go to a world where women can be empowered and it's fine. I want to play a game where I see Black people and Asian people, Latino people just living lives and racism doesn't exist. Why is that not valid, but your version is? That's the question you guys should be asking yourselves. Whether you are the people who think like that or the people who see that shit. Why does it bother you so much? Why do you think you get to treat people a certain way and get none of it back? Why do you think every game has to be made specifically for your interest when there are literally thousands of games you can play? Why does it matter? Why does it matter? You don't want to play a game minorities? Okay, fine. Go play a game from like 2003 where it was just a bunch of white dudes. Go play that. That still exists. Hell, you're still getting games if you have white straight leads. That still exists. But your problem now is that's not the only option. And that's crazy. No one's fucking forcing you to be trans in a game. No matter what these grifters tell you, no one's forcing you to do that. You're just mad that the option exists. And that's something you got to unpack. That's not on everyone else. Game developers are artists. They're creatives. They want to create things. They want to touch different topics. They want to explore the breadth of humanity and beyond. They are allowed to do that. You guys always talk about voting with your wallets. Okay. But then shut the fuck up. Like, you don't want to play Dragon Age because you think it's trash and it's bad. You don't want to play Star Wars Outlaw because you think it's trash and it's bad. Then don't play it. But other people are going to play it. Oh, you guys are defending a trash game. A game you didn't fucking play. Like, going back to logic, you guys would tell people don't believe these reviewers because they're paid shills. Don't believe these guys because they're in the pocket of Ubisoft. They're in the pocket of Sony. They're in this pocket. But then you'll believe some fucking random YouTuber because they're echoing your sentiments. You guys do not engage in shit critically at all. Why should anyone listen to you? Why do you think only your voice matters? Why? You're like, oh, what part of the majority? You're really not. If you were part of the majority, Metaphor Refantasio would not be Game of the Year contender at all. That is one of the wokest fucking games I've ever played, okay? The Metal Gear Solid games would also never be considered because they're extremely woke and political by your own standards. If that was the case, why did Baldur's Gate 3 succeed? If you're the majority, and you're the majority, let's be real, a bigoted perspective, why are so many games that succeed, like Spider-Man 2, like Alan Wake 2, like, oh my God, God of War Ragnarok, those games you guys love to call woke garbage, why do they do so well? Why have they sold millions? Why? Why isn't First Descendant selling like fucking hotcakes? Why are they so desperate to retain people or get new people? They're going full into Gooner mode and talking about how they've released jiggle physics, even though most of the complaints people are talking about have to do with the grind of the gameplay, how it fucking sucks. Why is that not the number one game of all time? You can't answer that, not honestly, because you'd have to realize that your perspective is not the majority's perspective. The majority of people just want to be able to play a game, and if they do have a problem with it, be able to discuss it with a bunch of fucking losers getting on the internet, coming in the comment sections talking about, well, it's gay and it's woke and it's dumb and it's bad. That's why it sucks, because it's gay and bad. They don't like that. They don't. And sure, I know there are bigger accounts than mine. They get more engagement. I don't give a fuck about engagement, but they get more engagement, they get more views, they have more followers, whatever. But guess what? They are part of a niche space of the internet. They might get 1 million views on a video. Do you think only 1 million people exist in the world? Do you think only 1 million people play video games? No. And yet, you guys somehow think you're in control of everything. Once again, If that's the case, then why have the only victims been Dustborn, a game you never fucking heard of until the grifters brought it to your attention? I only heard of Dustborn because I was on Steam and they were doing a Steam Next Fest, and that was one of the games I said, fuck it, whatever, I'll play it. No one was advertising Dustborn. Not really. Not to the level of, say, Black Myth Wukong or Stellar Blade or anything like that would have gotten everyone's attention. No one was doing that. But you claim that as a, oh, good job. Hey, we made Star Wars Outlaw fail. Did you? Were you part of the Ubisoft team that made a massive budget and maybe like did they make all their money back because even though they sold a lot, it wasn't to cover expenses? Was that you? Was that your decision making? Because why would you let it even sell 1 million? You guys have all that power. Why not make it sell zero? Zero sales. Big old goose egg. And then Concord, once again, were you part of the development team? Were you in charge of the budget? Were you the ones making the decision to make it a multimedia thing? Were you the ones who said we want to make it a video game and also put it on secret level and also do weekly cinematics? Was that your plan to make a huge budget that could never be made back in a market that was already oversaturated? Was that your plan? Do you guys take credit for every single game that has ever failed? What about the Great Rebellion? That was a DEI free game. Why is that not making a bajillion dollars? Why is it not number one on Steam? In fact, how come none of the games you guys talk about positive, to be honest, you don't really talk positive about really any games, but how come none of those games are making crazy numbers? It's because you do not have the impact you think, which is why you guys go so far as to harass community managers and just people online who like a fucking video game. Because you want to feel like you're influencing something, but you're not. The only thing you're influencing is people's opinion of you, and it's not great. We all had a meeting, and we all think you're fucking weird for this. But for some reason, you guys are just stuck in this fucking bubble where you refuse to even look at another explanation for something. It has to be, nope, there's a cabal of woke people who want to ruin video games, and that's why. We got to get these activists out of there. What activist are you specifically talking about? What activist? The capitalistic companies who just want to make money? Listen, I'm not a big fan of Neil Druckmann because, personal reasons, but The Last of Us makes money. Does it not? Would that game not also be woke? Oh, Red Dead Redemption fans. Arthur Morgan, the voice actor of Arthur Morgan, Roger Craig, always talks about trans rights. Should we get him out of video games now too? Because of, he's activist? Should we get rid of anyone who says anything positive about a minority group? Should we get rid of him too? Because apparently activist just means decent person with common sense, person do unto others. Like, that's bad. That's a bad thing. Get rid of them. Okay, and who's taking their spot? If we get rid of them, who's taking their spot? How do you verify it? How do you do non-activism? How do you verify this person's not an activist? This person doesn't give a shit about the state of the world or anything like that and just wants money. Doesn't care about their craft, just wants money. How do you ensure that? Do you guys understand how fucking insane all of this shit is? Like, it's these, at the end of the day, it's video games. And you guys are acting like this. You want to get rid of people. I've had comments, people saying they don't care about the AI stuff because they just want white liberals out of video games. What the fuck? What are you talking about? Like, you understand that Hideo Kojima also qualifies as an activist by your standards, right? You want him to never make a video game ever again? No games for him at all? Sega, Yakuza, those guys. Fucking hell. Get them out of gaming. Atlas, let them go too. Like, but this ties back to what I was saying earlier. You are not the center of the universe. You are not the only person who plays games. Millions of people play video games across the planet. Millions. Your stories, your ideas are being told, but they're not going to be the only stories told. And if you cannot handle that, you are a fucking baby and you should not be playing video games. Okay. I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. Okay. Look at my big calloused hands. I'm gonna hold you right here. All right. You're a baby and you need to work on yourself, because what the fuck?